Scandinavian friends, people who follow the work we do here on Democracy at Work and send us their comments and reactions. Recently, they sent some critical comments, and I want to take them seriously, and I want to respond both to them and to the rest of you because I think it may be of broad interest. The criticism basically was this: that in celebrating a new kind of socialism for the 21st century, one that focuses on microeconomic transformations, namely the democratization of enterprises, workplaces, worker co-ops, rather than the 19th and 20th century kinds of socialism which stressed more macro-level changes, the state taking over from private enterprises and state planning taking over from markets. And their criticism is that this interest in worker co-ops existed before, and that I am inadequately celebrating, acknowledging, particularly something called syndicalism, which was very strong at the turn of the 19th into the 20th centuries, and that in some ways the 21st century socialism I talk about is a return to, or a revival of, you might say, the syndicalism of the past. So let me respond. First, about syndicalism. Syndicalism comes from the French word for labor union, syndicat in French. It doesn't have much to do with the English cognate of syndicate, which has kind of ominous, crime-related overtones. Syndicat in French is simply the word for a labor union. And syndicalism, or syndicalism, has to do with a movement, strong for a while, particularly in France, but in some other countries as well. And here in the United States, perhaps best represented by the IWW, the International Workers of the World, which was both a labor union, but also had a broader social transformation agenda. Syndicalism refers to that agenda, to the idea that labor unions should not only bargain with the employer for better conditions for working people, better wages, but that the union should literally displace and replace the employer by becoming a self-government of the workers in the workplace. And that is certainly a very close relation idea to worker co-ops. But now let me defend myself as well a little bit. In my discussions of worker co-ops, I often stress that this is not a new idea. I am not suggesting, nor are the other people who talk about worker co-ops, and they are many, are not suggesting that this is new. If you study economic history, you will see that efforts by working people to run their own workplaces, whether it be called a workshop or a commune or a collective or a co-op, lots of words, they are as old probably as the human race. There are certainly evidences of them in ancient Greece and Rome. Throughout the Middle Ages, in the feudal system in Europe, there were whole villages that ran that way. There were workshops that ran that way. Monasteries and nunneries within the Roman Catholic Church organized their working activity in that way. And throughout capitalism and the transition from feudalism to capitalism, which took centuries, there were all kinds of experiments along the way that were precursors to the modern worker co-op. Syndicalism is another one, and it deserves to be recognized in that role. On the other hand, what we're doing now is a bit different because it comes at the end of a long period of socialism in which the role of worker co-op, or syndicalism if you like, was pushed to the margins, was downplayed, was made secondary, if even that. And the whole thrust of the new direction of socialism, its next phase, is to bring all of that back and make it front and center. But there is no intention and no desire to do any kind of placing in the shade the precursors, both those in recent past, like syndicalism, and those in the ancient past, which historians are right now rediscovering and re-emphasizing in the same notion of moving forward toward them that is represented by our ideas about 21st century socialism.